what I heard just today. They're talking to Harry or whatever. They're still Duke and
What I
Duchess.
understand is
We're
they
talking
wanted
about
to get
Meghan
away from the
Markle?
paparazzis, only to the paparazzis think, right, they're fair game now.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's going to... Yeah, sure, that's going to work.
I think
Want
maybe
to get
that's
away
maybe that.
from
former
paparazzis.
president.
You married into the royals and Harry's a royal. That's never going to happen. It's like,
I
have you
assume
no
it's
idea
like being
who
a former
you were
president,
marrying?
you know? Secret Service for life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know right now there's a big thing because it's like, should the Canadian government front the security costs?
Not really.
Well, and honest to God, I could care less. People are like, well, it's taxpayer money. It's like, really? That's the first time taxpayer money's been wasted? I got other fucking things to have an opinion about.
Well,
Well, I mean,
see, my
I mean,
first,
are they Canadian citizens? Because if so, then yeah, you have a responsibility to protect them. And granted,
Well,
their percentage of celebrity does equate to they probably need more
There's
protection.
a
than your
difference
own
between
citizen.
immigrating and being born a Canadian.
yeah, and the thing is the only one who doesn't need a passport is the Queen.
No, you just look at it her
Because
and go,
she
you're
signs
you.
she signs the passports. So it's kind of it's like when you turn 100, the Queen sends you a birthday letter when you turn 100.
Yep.
Does
So
she? Wow.
yeah, so I used to
How old
kind
is
of
she?
oh, she'll be up there. I was wondering that, is she going to send herself a letter? And I used to think when her mother was alive, I wonder if she sent her mom a letter.
Maybe.
Well, who knows with Elizabeth? She's kind of weird, eh? She could be funny.
but my
Or
personal
she could be very
feelings,
funny.
my personal feelings on the security force
Uh-huh.
is they want to be like everybody else, and yeah, they're going to have a celebrity status, do just like all the other celebrities do, and
Pay for your own bodyguards.
that's right. Hire your own, pay for your own. The majority of the U.S. Congress does that if they're going to have a security force, because they're not everybody in Congress gets Secret Service at taxpayers' expense. Only select few.
Okay.
So,
But they're royal blooded. I'd assume they have to have permanent Secret Service, and I don't see I don't see the UK just giving up the control over them, you know,
they
to a foreign
basically
nation.
what they're doing is abdicating. Not that they're a king, but the same concept. They want to turn their back on it and walk away.
Well, and again, today I heard them talking, and it's like they're taking a break. In 1 year, they're going to revisit this entire issue, and like I said, they're still prince by birth, right? Because he's prince by birth, so therefore she's still princess by marriage, but their prince and princess titles have been revoked. They're still the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, but they have no, like, basically they're not going to be making any water slide appearances, like cutting the ribbon at any new water slides or anything, right? Like, they're not.
That's the way to call it, water slide appearances.
I said it that way so the Americans would understand what I was talking about.
Thanks.
I would have said more like bunny slope appearances.
Yeah, so yeah, it's just they should literally get like Elton John and Paul McCartney to protect them.
Oh yeah, just give the paparazzi a choice. Do you want Elton John or the
Well,
Duchess?
no, I mean
Duchess?
they're knights. They're knights. Give them swords, and they're knights.
Personally,
I
I'd have
see.
to say that Elton John is more interesting and fascinating to me than any member of the royal family. Personally, simply because, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm American. I really don't give a shit. I really don't. For example,
Yeah,
when Princess Diana
you don't
died,
have to.
I was watching a Cincinnati Bengals football game, and we were winning. And then they interrupted the Bengals game to bring you this special report that Princess Diana was dead. And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm watching a game. And by the time I finally get back to the game, my Bengals were losing.
Oh, no.
So angry.
That's the real conspiracy.
Yeah. It was all done so that they could screw
What
my
happened?
Bengals over.
What happened? Well, that what happened in the game when that was going on? That was just okay.
You know,
No, I
Meghan
don't know.
Markle could
But
get
I
Trump
mean,
to
Americans.
cover it so easy. All she'd have to do is flash him one time, and he'd pay for everything.
Yeah. But see, Americans don't have a good past with the British monarchy, so I understand why you guys
Yeah.
don't care, right? Like, it's just not.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was a few
Well,
hundred years ago.
you kicked their butt. We kicked their butts once. So why do we got to do it again?
Yeah, it's just
Talk
like.
about it over tea.
But we're.
Hell with tea. Give me a coffee.
But Canada is still officially a Commonwealth nation. Like, we still have our you guys have the Attorney General. We have a Governor General, which is like our.
How does French Canada and Canada work? Are you guys like unified?
Hell no.
The Quebecois.
Okay.
Ask any Frenchman in Quebec.
Yeah, and do you know what? And I'm in Western Canada. Like, I'm in Saskatchewan, so there's like a huge divide east and west. Like, everything politically, kind of culturally, social, everything, right? And Quebec is out east, and Quebec would even be another separate kind of socio-economic, sociological kind of subculture. I've talked about.
Would it be more like two different nations, or more like California versus New York?
Oh, it's more different than that.
East and west is California versus New York.
Okay, because like you're in New York, you're still American to me. I just don't like you because you're from New York.
Quebec is kind of like Puerto Rico. Like,
that's a whole lot different then.
Well, okay, like, Canada is officially bilingual. Does everyone speak English and French? No. However, anything that you're gonna see, like owner's manual down to a cereal box, anything you're gonna buy, a label in a store, toothpaste, soup, anything, is gonna have an English side and a French side. Like the milk jug, one side it'll say milk. You turn the jug over, it says lait. On the other side, like.
One of my earlier childhood experiences is watching up in Montreal when we were up visiting family, that some English-speaking folks walked into a McDonald's speaking English, and they got treated rather shabbily.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're assholes. They're French, of course.
Yeah, and then I was going to say, right, but like everything in Canada is English and French, but when you go out east, when you actually go to Quebec, now this is how ridiculous it is. There's been like companies, everything from like let's put it this way, like a Chinese restaurant. There's been Chinese restaurants that have been fined, been forced to take their signs down and change signage, and according to the Quebec provincial laws, they've actually broken like a human rights code because bilingual and French. Everything has to be labeled with French, and French must be the first language. So you can't even like have like an Italian restaurant and call it like, fucking Alfredo's. You can't call it Alfredo's. You have to have the French spelling first and then the Italian.
Yeah, there's some people in America that would rather have everything English first. But it seems petty.
Right. And Quebec, like, it's like you're fucking part of Canada. Like, I don't understand that whole French thing. And it was what was it, like a long time ago, it was like General Wolfe's fault. The king or queen, whoever it was way back then, said, okay, go to Canada and finally fucking kill all those French fuckers. Just like, genocide. Just fucking get rid of them already. Like, this is enough horseshit, right? And he went there and he defeated the French, but he didn't kill him. She literally, like, the royalty at that point literally meant like kill them down to every last man, woman, and child, right? Eradicate them from our territory. And he didn't. He just conquered them. So you have to start making deals, right? And now it's just fucked up because, like, I mean, they've tried to separate from Canada, 2 or 3 times they had a vote. And
just missed it too.
Yeah, and just missed it. The only reason that it didn't go through was because there's a lot of First Nations, like Aboriginal people, Canadian American Indians, right? There's a lot of those in Quebec because Quebec is a big fucking province. It goes really high up north, so there's like Inuit and other.
I appreciate that phrase, First Nation. I think we should use that instead of natives.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. No, I'm a native Canadian, but I'm not First Nations.
Well, see, like that'd make more sense. I'm a Native American. I'm from America, but are you a First Nation American?
Yeah, and the reason First Nations is because like American Indians don't like. It doesn't matter. Like, I mean, I meet guys all the time way up in northern Saskatchewan playing with the band, and they're back and forth between here and like Montana or even as far down as Arizona because, well, they're First Nations. The white man border, there's laws around that for them. Right? Like that's why the whole shit that was going down in Quebec a few years ago with like armed protesters. The cops would come for them on this side, they would just run across the fucking bridge to the States.
Genius.
Well, and the whole issue is because that's where what is it? 5 Nations?
Well,
like
that's
out east. Yeah, it's like, but it's like
up there where you're talking about where that was going on.
Yeah.
Up there at Cornwall, where they were going to cross from there over to the Akwesasne, the Mohawk Reservation.
Yeah. Because like, that's the whole point is that the reserve lays like right in between. It's actually on
it's kind of split between Canada and U.S. there.
Yeah, like it overlaps, and First Nations people. Basically, I don't think that they need like as long as you have like status, right? If you have like status, you can cross the border because your people always have. It's like there's no smoking anywhere unless it's a native First Nations owned establishment. We have like the typical Indian casino. There's a smoking area. You can still smoke indoors. One of the last few places you can smoke indoors anywhere in public. Because tobacco is a part of the culture as well as hunting. They can hunt. Yeah, and they can hunt year round. They can cross the border, right? There's there's not benefits, but there's cultural exceptions. But yeah, that's why Quebec didn't leave. It was because of them. Because I mean, they've made their deals already with the Canadian government, right?
All right. Who do you think would unify with the States more? The Canadian French or the Canadian Canadians?
Who would what?
Who would be more willing to unify with the States?
Oh, Western Canada.
Really?
Where I am, yeah. Break the country off at where Ontario and Manitoba connect. And Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, BC, for sure would, and then like even the territories, the Northern Territories. Well, I don't think that there's much distinction again with First Nations people who are the majority of the people up north between like Alaska, Yukon, Northwest Territories, right? That's all one geographic and cultural environment, right? Doesn't matter if you're in Fairbanks, Alaska, and then you travel over to Yellowknife or Whitehorse, right? And as far as that goes, you could come as far as to my province. You could go to Great Slave Lake and then Athabasca, right? Like we're on route with that whole Arctic thing. Although we're in the middle of the West, I don't know. It's hard to explain. I'd have to give like a whole Native history studies.
Let's do a water deep history.
Okay. Yeah, because I think it's session 21. I would think.
I kind of lost count, but that sounds
so
about
did
right. I started putting the On the recordings, I put the date stamp.
The date, yeah. Yeah, I think it's 21. And Ryan is back.
Hello.
You guys traveled down to Waterdeep with the 5 of you and your 2 NPCs, Serac and Orville, the Weevil, the dwarf with the mad gleam in his eye. Who?
Yeah, the fun guy.
So there's a 7 of you. You guys caught a ship from Luskin down to Waterdeep, and you are gonna find Serac a farther passage. Ryan had asked a question in the messenger about as to why you guys have come down to Waterdeep. Well, only reason really was to kind of get Serac on a ship south, and you guys were wondering about his father and the Ring of Winter, and you guys decided, and you guys were told by Serac that he indeed does know that his father has some connections with a family known of the Roaring Horns. So the Roaring Horn family, that your father has connections with them, and they are located in Waterdeep. Serac doesn't even really know them, but you guys thought that you guys would, escort him down here, and while you guys were here, you would ask about that. And as far as I know, that's really the only reason you guys had come down here. Just to escort him, and you thought while you were down here, you guys would ask about his father from the Roaring Horn family. You guys are kind of discussing this because it has been almost a 10-day or whatever, traveling south along the Sword Coast. As you're traveling south, the open ocean is out to your right, and the cliffs of the coastline are to your left. Sometimes 200 feet high, sometimes they look like they're a mile high. It almost entirely your whole voyage south, it rained most of the time. It drizzled most of the time. But the good news is you guys had good wind, no storms, and no bad encounters other than for that dragon longship at Port Last. You guys, as far as we're speaking about weather, let's get someone to actually roll the weather to see what the weather is like right now. You guys are still standing on the longship. It is just coming into the docks. You guys have been waiting and jockeying and for position to get close to the docks. You can see that some of the larger ships actually dock out in the bay or in the harbor, and they use smaller vessels to go back and forth to carry cargo and passengers and livestock. And there are barges, and there are small boats, and there are fishing vessels. And there are masts and ships everywhere. And you can see the walled city and the mountain and the sound and the smells. So let's get someone to just roll the weather and see what this weather is like. Who wants to roll me a few 20-sided dice?
I'll roll, sure.
Okay, Ryan, roll me a die 20 to tell me what the temperature is like.
I roll a 2.
Oh, it's quite a pleasant day out, temperature-wise. Let's roll for the wind, please.
Okay. 19.
It's actually very windy out today. Let's roll for precipitation, please.
7.
No precipitation. So my guess is that it would be quite a pleasant day, except there's quite a strong wind blowing from the north. That's why it's very warm still. Not warm, but very pleasant day out, other than the wind. But I'd say you guys are coming up to evening, but not quite. So it would probably be like late afternoon wise. The harbor is like near indescribable for how busy it is. And for like the amount of vessels and the variety of ships. Once you guys do eventually dock and a gangplank is thrown across and there are lines being thrown back and forth as the ship is like kind of being hauled in to place, and with the assistance of some rowing, you could see that by the time you guys actually grab your personal belongings and you begin disembarking, that you could see down the wharf, like, you know, the ship is pulled into kind of like a slip dock, and then it's to a bigger wharf to like a pier. You can see like where the wharf and the pier are connecting, and there's people all over. Like, I cannot accentuate how busy it is. Like the hustle and bustle of people moving crates and yelling and different languages and different types of people. But you can see that when you're grabbing your stuff and you're disembarking from the ship, when you look towards the wharf, you can see that some of the crew of the vessel that you guys are on are talking to a handful of what appear to be guards, like actual soldiers. Like, you can tell by their tabards and by their pole arms and shields and stuff like that, that, you know, they appear to be guards, and they're having some sort of heated conversation, but they're too far away and there's too much hustle and bustle for you to hear. But you could see that like the crew looks like whoever they're talking to, like it's quite a heated conversation. And Cloud, where are you, by the way? Are you with them at the ship? Or are you somewhere else that I need to know?
I'm with them.
Okay, good. And because you have, I mean, like, you're an aerial creature, you can see that, like, there appear to be, and you recognize them from before, like the type of creature from before. High in the sky, you could see griffins flying, but they appear from like the glint of sun off of steel, and by the shape of their silhouette, they appear to be carrying riders, and they're flying in actual like V formations and stuff like that. You know, like, it's not just random flying all over. They're flying around as if like horses move around for a cavalry.
Still watch the horse. Still watch the horse. I don't care if it's somebody rider. One of them could just get a little hungry and slick down here. Keep a wary eye on the horse.
So you guys gonna disembark? You guys gonna wait for?
Let's disembark. Anybody want to find out what the heated conversation is going on over there?
I hope it's not about us. We didn't bring
Let's
anything
find
illegal,
out.
did we?
Garl will want to sneak off, try to not to be noticed. Whether it's hiding under somebody's robe or whatever, as they move off.
Roll me a stealth using your a charisma stealth.
Charisma.
Because there's so much hustle and bustle that it's so easy to like acting nonchalant is like.
Okay.
Roll me a charisma stealth. Yeah.
That's a 17.
Oh yeah, you can. You just kind of mosey on over, and you start going over to like along the wharf where there's a person with like a turban and some mauve robes, and they have like an area set out where they have like carpet on the ground, and like there's people walking by and people standing around, and but he's like got like basically a hibachi.
Okay.
And as soon as you hop up, the smell of it catches you, and it smells like he's like grilling food, and you can see that people are walking up to him, and you can see them having like a little interaction as he hands them some food in exchange for some coin. You can see, and there's like people.
And Darrell's intent is when he's up there and he's hidden away, he's going to keep an eye on the crew and the guards.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll be looking at them to check them, and he'll be looking every once in a while back over his shoulder at the boat for the rest of his party, basically trying to be a point of protection or early warning for him.
Okay. What you call it? And as you guys approach closer, and like Garl, like I said, you're, has split off or watching from a different angle. You guys approach. You guys can hear he's like, "I've got some cargo to unload, and we got some passengers to unload, but we want to get going before the sun goes down. We want to head out again." And the guard's like, apologetic. I'm sorry, and blah blah. And he's like, "There's nothing I can do about it." And as you guys approach, he kind of, his attention falls on you guys as you guys approach, and the crew member, he looks at y'all, and he says, and he kind of like throws down his arms in like frustration, and he's like, "They say we can't do anything, we can't go anywhere until the Magister comes." And you can tell he's like crosses his arms with like frustration as he kind of looks around and looks at the sun.
I step down, and as I do such, my cloak flutters in the breeze, or non-existent breeze.
Yeah.
As the case may be. And I go,
No,
"Do they
wind.
not realize that we are the heroes of Britain Shander? I personally have slain Truffy, the Frost Giant Queen. Make way for us. We are not to be held up for any simple petty dignitary with a clipboard."
How many bets that's going to work?
But he just shrugs, and he says, "Nothing I can do about it, sir." He says, "You're gonna have to wait for the robes to arrive. Shouldn't be much longer." And another guard says something basically to the effect, it says, "It seems he's approaching. It won't take long. It's the rules. Every ship has to register when it enters port before any offloading can occur."
I don't.
And it doesn't. And you guys are still talking about this when you guys could see that the crowd kind of seems to split when approaching, walking swiftly, is a tall, lean man wearing black robes with a chainmail shirt thrown over it. He does not have the same blue and white surcoat as the guards, but you could see that he is wearing an emblem upon his armor. And he's wearing black robes, and but these guys look like soldiers, this guy, he's got like wild black hair and a bushy black beard. He's tall and thin. He has a real sharp bird-like nose that looks like it's slightly bent over to the side. He's got dark bags under his eyes, like, you know, he stays up reading too much, and he does not look in a good mood. You can just tell by the clenching of his jaws. As he comes like, you know, walking up swiftly, as he's like clutched in his hand, he has a real wooden staff, or a staff that appears to be carved out of wood, but the staff is carved to look like, okay, picture a naked woman standing with her feet together and her wrists together above her head, and now grab her wrists and grab her ankles and do the stretch Armstrong.
Ew.
That's what she looks like. Like, it looks like that, but she's like, it's like it's all elongated to be like the diameter of a staff. You know what I mean?
She's gangly.
Yeah. It's just a staff that's carved to look like a nude woman, 2-3 feet tall with her arms up, that was just stretched out to be the diameter of a staff. But you can see how like the elongated arms and the elongated face and the elongated ridges, which were the breasts and the cleft between the legs that runs all the way down to the implied feet and hands at the ends. And the ends where the hands are is clutching not a gem, but a stone. But
That doesn't look good.
and he comes approaching, and like as hustle and bustle as the crowd is, and crates and barrels and push carts and even like wagons farther back and people and some vendors, and you can hear like some music, and it sounds like there's just performers here. They're just in all the crowd noise. It's hard to walk without bumping into anyone, but he seems to do it quite well. He just comes walking over briskly, and you could see that, yeah, he is pretty tall. He's probably about 6'4", and he comes approaching swiftly, and he locks eyes with the other one, and he says, "Are you the captain?" And he points to the crew member, and the crew member almost like startles with a jump, or jumps at the start, and he says, "I'm bosun." And he says, and he looks at the ship pieces. "This one?" And he nods, and he says, "Where's your captain?" And he said, and he points over his shoulder, and you can see like the captain is yelling, still giving orders. The guy nods, kind of satisfactorily, kind of gives a quick nod, and he looks at all of you, because all a quick scan, and he says, "And you? Are you all staying?"
Allow me to introduce myself. I understand that you must be in shock meeting someone as such a great personage as me. I'm Nicodemus the Satyr, priest of Bacchus, and the defender, and we together are the defenders of Bryn Shander. I myself have personally slain the Frost Giant Queen, Trufi. Perhaps you've heard of us. We will be on our way now, if you don't mind, good sir, because we have an utmost important meeting with the good family known as the Roarers, the
Roaring Horns.
Roaring Horns, yes. So, good day to you, sir. If you'd like my autograph, I shall give you one soon.
No.
He says curtly, "I have no time for your nonsense." And he motions to his head back, and he says, "I have 2 million souls behind those walls." He says, "We keep track of who enters and who leaves.
Well, now you know who we are. There's 2,000,007. Good. And I grab the horse by the reins and I proceed to just pull her onto the.
Do you know?
Yeah, I do. I identified myself. Told him, stated my business in his good town.
You should have showed him the medal.
One of the guards. Not one of the guards, but the guards are actually like, whoa, whoa, whoa. They're like, one of the guards. He says he's like, a quick registration. That's all it is. He says, there's no tax. He says, don't. The harbor magister's temper is short today.
And so is mine. If you wish me to sign something, then hand it to me quickly. I shall sign it to be on my way.
And then he says, yeah, that's all it is. And he says something to one of the other guards. And the magister says, everyone must register. He says, including your gnomish friend over there. And he, with a tilt of his head, he says, I've 2 million souls. The sun is coming down. The harbor must be closed.
2,000,007.
He says there are a lot of ships entering and rushing to beat the sun down.
Yes. Grab something. X.
Yeah.
Fucking on my way.
And he says, and the magister, he says, one more thing. And he holds up a bony finger with a long, jagged nail. And he says, any arcane spellcasters. And he looks at the bard. And he scans the rest of you.
Someone asked me about that, but the only magic I know is song.
He says, and then he just nods. And he walks towards
I do know the language
ship.
of love.
The guards will get literally just a signature from everyone. Although I was going to say this, silence. I think we'd established that you're from Waterdeep.
Yes, it's
Correct.
nice to be home again.
So do you also register, which is basically lets them know you're back. You know that there's no taxation, there's no entry. In fact, you know that if you have to pay money to get into the city, you're not dealing with a guard. You're dealing with a brigand in disguise. Right? Like, there's no taxation for getting in. And you know that because you are that you do have arcane control over magic somehow, some way. You have been registered with, so you don't have to do it again because hell, you've paid, like, you can even, like, you've paid your basically your dues and your fees, which isn't much. You have paid your fees for the Musicians Guild in Waterdeep, and you have registered with the Watchful Order of Magus and Protectors. They like to keep track of all arcane casters. And that's it.
When
You're not obligated. You're not. I think. What you would call it? Ranger spells. I think are more like clerical. I think because it's wisdom based and everything. So I'm not really counting that as.
What I was going to say is when Garl comes up to sign on in, he's going to forge for his name Balin.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Since he has that ability.
Yeah, you can. There's no like I mean, it's more of a numbers thing why they register. Because when he says 2 million people, and then you guys do gather your stuff, get the horse, get the wagon, you guys all register. you guys begin making your way to the larger wharf, and you guys make it on to like land into the dock area, which means going through gates, which again, there's guards there, but they don't stop you from entering anymore. And they don't, and actually, and you could see that, like, in fact, talking to the guys who are guards, there also appear other guards, but these guys are dressed in like, have like green and yellow surcoats on with like tall helmets, and they just have like little buckler shields and truncheons. And you can see some of them even have like around their neck like a long, it's like a dog whistle, like a pipe whistle around their necks. And you can see groups of them here and there, but they're not bothering people. They're just watching. And when you guys get to the gates and you guys come, it's like, think of like a movie and the dramatic music crescendos as you come around the corner and you see like the actual extent of it. When he said 2 million people and 2 million souls, you guys probably didn't think much of it. When you come around, you're like, oh yeah, there probably is 2 million people here. It is just hustle and bustle galore. And you can even see like, as you can see like the mountain placed here in the lower third of the city, you could even see like, you could even see like where the people have made an impact on the mountain. You can see how there's a road that goes up to a big ass militaristic castle on top of it. You can see how it looks like that there appears to be even like shops and vendors and stuff lined on the road that go up that mountain. And when you turn in the other direction, you could see, like, I'm talking like the size of the Statue of Liberty, but it looks as if it's toppled over, because when you look out to that direction, all you see is like the head and an arm extending straight out, and it appears to be like a statue the size of the Statue of Liberty, but it's like, looks like it's pretty like toppled over. It's still far away, but you can see like the head and the arm sticking up over the buildings in the distance, and carts and wagons and banners and signs and people yelling and language. It's just crazy.
Garl, if it's that kind of hustle and bustle as we're moving through the streets, we'll randomly once in a while try to pick a pocket.
Oh?
Oh yeah.
I want to try to gauge kind of the general mood of people in the streets, because I doubt that these giant attacks have been happening only in the Savage Frontier. They must be happening in other places. So I kind of want to see, are people scared? Are there a lot of weapons on display? Is it that sort of thing?
Roll me like an insight, I would have to say.
Okay. Do I have insight? Let's have a look. Been a while. Yeah, I do have insight, so that would be a 20.
You know that the city looks busy. As far as people in armor, the only ones in armor are the ones that I described in like the green and yellow surcoats with the tall helmets and like I said, they don't even really have weapons. They just have like these long truncheons and like buckler shields. The more you guys look around, you guys are like the only armored ones other than them. Everyone else is either dressed like normal people or is dressed like nobles. So a lot of the men, as like a fashion statement or whatever, it looks like knives look to be very common, like daggers, right? Up to like short sword length. But that's it. Almost every man at least carries like, a dagger or a short sword. But as you guys come into like Silence, you know which way your way around the city. So you figure, well, we'll lead them through the dock ward, and I guess take them to like the trade ward. This way, it's kind of a central part of the city, and well, there's everything there, like literally everything there. So if
There's a
you
McDonald's, there's a Levi's.
everything, like you could go there and get like a pair of boots made, get a massage, get a meal, buy like a snake as a pet, whatever you want. Get a tattoo, anything. Information, anything.
If there's something we want, that's where we go.
Okay.
Yeah. And Ryan, it almost appears to be like it's too hard to tell. Once you start talking to people, like, I mean, I don't know how to, like, these people that, like, there's no signs of, like, boulders laying in the city, you know what I mean? There's no one that's like, holding the sign, my family was killed by giants, got a silver piece, or, you know what I mean? Like,
It's just kind. Yeah, I get that. That can. Yeah.
But like the city kind of looks like, I don't know, the hustle and bustle is like, I can't even, like, I can't describe it. Like, take a city of 2 million people, and I mean, it's a nice city. Even here in the dock ward, when you guys are leaving the dock ward, like, I mean, there's drunken bums, there's clearly prostitutes, there's but even here in the dock ward, you could see that there's like people dressed in black with brooms and rakes and shovels that are cleaning up the streets, and they have like wooden wheelbarrows and wooden carts pulled by donkeys. You see them everywhere. People cleaning up, like everywhere. Like there's always people sweeping, raking, hauling stuff away, refuse and other detritus. There are, as you enter the kind of trade area, again, it's just the trade area looks bigger than most cities you guys have been in. Like it's massive, and you can see that statue more clearly. And that statue appears to be like, it looks like its leg is sunken down into the ground itself, like its left leg. So its right leg is still propped up on the ground, and its arm is stretched up over it. It's kind of leaning back, and there's an object, like where its hand is reaching up. There's an object that it looks like it's reaching towards, and it appears to be also made out of stone of the same material as the statue itself, a giant sphere that this statue seems to be reaching up and kind of leaning back with its legs sunk into the ground. And the ball, like the sphere, is actually like levitating off its hand. Like you can see the gap. And the thing is it's like, wow, like that's a huge statue. And yet you could see where from ground level and built up its one leg that's bent, and even up its chest, because as I said, it's leaning back up its chest. You could see that there appears to be like buildings and steps and walkways have been built upon it.
Once
That's
Carl
cool.
sees that, he'll go ahead and he's going to cast a quick spell of their non-detection on himself.
There are people all over, all over, like everywhere. And you guys, like, as you guys kind of enter this like trade area, you guys are kind of looking at the statue. Holy shit! You guys can hear that there is a voice over top of the others, and it appears to be like like you hear clang clang clang, clang, and you know, oh, that's a crier. You hear a town crier, and you can hear them like town crying. A lot of it, as you get closer, you can start to understand their words. You can see they're kind of like slowly walking as they're shouting, clanging the bell. A lot of it doesn't make sense to you. They're talking like municipal stuff. So you can hear that eventually, oh yeah, he's actually telling about like what you call it, one of the guilds has actually like, oh, what's it called, like settled a contract.
Oh, contractual
right
dispute.
Yeah, exactly. There's a contractual dispute, like one of the guilds, and it's now been settled. And so he's like listing off like name of people on the board, and you know, and about what it and how it entails, and about how like there will be like any guild members will be mailed up the new regulations, or if not, they can be picked up here and there, or ask your local guild representative to. And then and then you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then the next one is like a story of like the second murder victim found this like this season, the second, in the dock ward, like another half elf murdered in the dock ward for like the second time this month, I guess, or 30 days. Yeah,
They do murder him and then raise him so he could get murdered again.
Oh no, it's not like that. No, it's not like in New York. Every 30 seconds in New York City, a man gets mugged, and today we're speaking with that man.
Oh, okay.
It's not like that. No.
Well, since you said the second,
I know
the half elf would be murdered, or another half elf or whatever. Just being
for the second time or whatever. Yeah. But no, I don't know. Nothing. Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
The next story. He is talking about the entry of more refugees from the Deseret Valley area due to giant attacks. But he's not talking about the giant attacks. He's talking about the refugees that have that more refugees have appeared because, like, it's, you know, the giant attacks in the Deseret Valley.
What kind of giants?
If you listen closely, eventually, it sounds like stone giants.
Stone giants. Stone giants.
You can see like a squad of watch go by, and they're green and yellow.
How far is the Deseret Valley? Does anybody know any geography around here? How about you, Silence?
I think it's just northeast. I think, like, the Deseret Valley follows like a river, so it's like, and I think the river comes out somewhere here, like around here, and then the valley goes northeast. Something like that.
Sounds interesting. I like that. I was just curious.
Some kid comes running up to you guys and pulls you kind of out of your like reverie, kind of, and he's like, "Hey, sir, sir."
Yes, sir.
He says, "Do you guys need a place to stay?" And he's walking along the cart, like kind of shuffling out of people's way, and he's like, he's like, I know where you can get some, and he kind of winks, and he pulls out like a piece of paper, and it's like, hands it to you. And it's like, are you going to take it, Michael?
Sure.
Okay, you grab it, and it's just a small piece of paper, about half the size of a piece of parchment. And you grab it, and you can see is like a shoddily drawn naked woman, and a flagon of, like, it looks like a beer and a wine glass and stuff like that, and they're all like suggestively spewing and foaming out, similar to your sacred flames, but not sacred flame. Your is it sacred flame? Your cantrip.
No, that's Toll the Dead.
Toll the Dead. Yeah, Toll the Dead. Yeah. Almost like that, but it's almost like suggestively, like foaming out and erupting and splashing on her. But it's like really crudely drawn. But something about it looks kind of odd. It doesn't look drawn. And then he sees like your other companions, and he's like, here, and he hands one to Serac, and he hands one to like Warvel, hands one to each of you guys, and you can tell basically they're printings, right? And he takes off, and he's handing out like basically advertisements for like a brothel-y place.
Well, I appreciate this, kid, and we may check this out, but I've heard that they make some really good pies on Troll Skull Alley, and I figured I'd give that a go first.
He's like, that's in the North Ward.
Is it? Okay.
He's like, that's a long way.
Is it? Is this place close?
He's like, he nods.
Oh, well. How close?
He just kind of points. He says, you got to go down that alleyway. It's like kind of like at the rear edge of the dock ward.
Okay. So he's like, he describes it to us in a way we can find it.
Yeah. That's really it. He's just a kid hustling things. And you guys could see it. You guys go by.
Probably gets paid a copper for, I don't know how many people come in, or maybe he just gets fed if he passes out these flyers. Who knows? By the way, I want to keep a very good hand on my coin purse.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say I keep a good eye on my I keep a good watch around to make sure no one's gonna pickpocket me.
Oh, definitely. Even I know that. And I used to live here.
Yeah, anyway, silence. I was just curious. We've been hearing people talk about these refugees and attacks on caravans and stuff like that by stone giants up in this nearby valley. Now, since you live here, I'm assuming that you may have some contacts with people who would not like to see that happen, who may be willing to offer a reward for some known and dedicated giant hunters and giant killers to intervene on their behalf.
Well, I'm pretty sure I do.
After we meet with the Roaring Horns and get Asarak situated, perhaps we could look into that. A little bit more coin for us.
Oh, that's definitely an idea. I imagine some of the merchants from the Merchant Guild might be interested.
Yes. We can make a profit out of this, since we've been so handy dealing with these giants anyway. Might as well make a lifestyle out of it. And think of the glory, how many drinks I will get at the bar.
How many songs? Yes.
Yes. All sorts of good things.
How many rides?
Turn demon into a respectable band.
I expect our bard is already working on our ballad.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That was
thing
convincing.
is, you keep on adding stuff to it.
All the folk songs have like 1,000 verses.
Yeah, problem is, do I make 1,000 verses about one event, or make 1,000 verses about all the events?
Well,
Yeah.
about all event, right? Like, think about like what's it even like "Oh My Darling," right? Like, you know
Oh
how
my
many verses there are to that song? There's like 100 different verses.
God.
Or she'll be
99
coming
Shades
around the
Black
mountain.
Wall.
Well, as someone who grew up in the entertainment business, in character, not out of character, I think it really depends on how you want to present yourself as an artist. If you want to have a few different songs with different kind of cadences, and some people might like some, or some people might not like others, then you should write a few songs in different ways, so that you can kind of play to what you think people would like. If you don't really care about that and you just want to write for the art of it, then go right ahead and make it whatever you'd like.
Sing Toss a Coin to Your Druid. It'd be a great money-making scheme.
The artist formerly known as Silence.
He turned herself into a single.
Like this what do you call it, trade ward is crazy. The shops and the open markets and the street vendors is astonishing. When you guys kind of make your way through it in awe and in wonder, you guys turned onto a main thoroughfare that moves north and south, and it actually is paved with raised paved sidewalks.
Oh.
And the shops here are like fancy, but the street's wide. Like, don't get me wrong, like the street, like you could probably have like 3-4 lanes of traffic, like wagon traffic. It's big, and there's like lots of foot traffic, and there are mixed here and there with all the carts, wagons, carriages, stuff like that. There are these big wagons that Silence, you recognize that they call them drays, and they're like giant, like basically double-decker buses pulled by big teams of big horses. And you could see as one slows down the street, like comes up the street, and it slows down kind of in front of you as you guys come from it perpendicular. As it slows down, you can see that passengers just, there's like a kind of a balcony area on the back. People just step off or step up, grab onto the railing, and even like women in like super fancy gowns with their sun parasols and stuff like that, with some, of course, some assistance from their male companion, help them, like easily they can step up or down. There seems to be a uniformed person on the back of the unit collecting fees, and it rumbles off like it as the traffic moves again. And again, street sweepers everywhere. This one intersection, you look around and you could count easily 5 street sweepers in their black uniforms cleaning up here and there. So the city's very well kept. These shops right along here look like very fancy clothing boutiques right in this area. And even I don't remember what I was gonna say. Anyways, yeah, but so I don't know where you guys, if you guys want to ask for directions, or you guys want to know where to go, or like Sarac and Warville are just like looking around in awe, like they're just, now you know why Waterdeep is called the City of Splendors. Like it truly is. And you guys can see now and then like the griffins flying overhead in formation. They don't ever come any
Watch the horse.
they don't come any lower than the tallest buildings in the area. You know what I mean? Like they don't seem to.
I mean, this
Well,
is.
I think we need to decide where we'd like to go before we really decide to ask for
Before we
directions.
leave this city, I want to go to the poorest part of Waterdeep.
Okay.
But besides that, I'm just a bird following the crowd.
There's so much
You
to
see
see.
here.
There's so much to see. And you guys even like could see like a group of like the guards in their tall helmets and truncheons with their green and yellow tabards on. You could see them walk out of a door between some couple buildings. And as you guys roll on there, you guys can see that above that door is like a lantern with a green and yellow flame burning in it, which seems to signify the city watch. Silence. You know, Waterdeep is, well, 2 million people, and they can manage to not have total fucking meltdown to society.
Yeah, we're used to it.
You know that the guards are the ones that you're going to encounter, like even as far away as like Neverwinter and Daggerdale, you're going to encounter Waterdeep guards. Those are like the soldiers. While the watch, the guys with the green and yellow and tall helmets and truncheons and bucklers, those guys are the Waterdeep watch. They're pretty much the police. So there's the guards, which is like the military, which watches the roads and the walls.
Uh-huh.
And then the watch is the police in the city. And you see them, you see their presence everywhere, but they don't hassle you at all. They got no reason. But you can see that they're always like with purpose. One time, actually in the trade area, you actually hear the beep beep high-pitched whistle, and you see a guard running through the crowd, but that was really it. You didn't catch any other of the you guys smell something totally awesome.
I'm guessing I'm familiar with it.
Yeah. You guys are getting up. This is the way. What the hell's it called? I can't remember what it's called. The Tradeway. I can't remember. I forgot what the street name was called. Forgive me. Yeah. But you guys are getting close to the North Ward because all I heard was Pie's Troll Skull Alley. You're starting to smell the North Ward, or that area of the North Ward, because what is it? I think it is something like it's the North Ward and another ward connect, but there's kind of like a mercantile area there. Like not everything is specifically in the trade ward, right? But so it is like another kind of mercantile area approaching the North Ward, where Troll Skull Manor is, because there's a lot to do with Troll Skull Alley anyways, but it like basically it's right on the border of the North Ward. Like you can change wards just by crossing a street, right?
Okay.
So that's
all right. Let's see. So we're headed on up by the Castle Ward then.
By the way,
yeah, at Castle Ward. As you go by Castle Ward, you can see that Cloud, this kind of blows you away. There's another 90-foot tall statue, but it's one leg is broken off, or foot is broken off, so it's tilted, and its arm is held out like to balance itself. But its hand is broken off, so it's just the arm with the stump sticking out. But it's in a rock, an Aarakocra.
That must belong over in
Ooh.
the city of the dead.
I'd fall to my knees and I just bow to it.
It's massive. There's a 90-foot tall stone Eric Crowcroft with its like stumped arm just sticking out.
Yeah. Cloud is just bowing down until someone pulls.
You guys kind of notice this, and when you guys are like, wow, and you guys kind of look over, you guys can see that Cloud has just kowtowed and has thrown himself down in reverence of this thing. It would look
I
that
know
way.
the story of that statue.
It attacked him! Knocked him
The
down out of
statue,
the
how
sky!
can it attack him?
It
Perhaps
must be
he's going to
evil!
expel.
Cloud will take out a dagger and a diamond and just put it up against as far as close to the statue as he can get.
Oh yeah, you can easily like kind of diverge from them and walk over to where it is. And you can see as you get closer, you can see that all over it too, there's signs of habitation. You can see that there are like buildings attached to it here and there, and rope ladders, and even some wooden steps. And even when you look way up to the arm, you can see that the arm appears to be hollow. Like it's high up, it's like 70 feet up, but you could even see that like in the glare of the sun that there appears to be like man-made structure up in that hollow tube-like thing, like a winch or a pulley or something. Like, a framework and a little crane arm.
Upon seeing that it's not actually alive, he's going to put his items away and then turn
It's
around.
not, but it's a very good representation.
As a citizen of Waterdeep, I think I'd know the story about the statue, wouldn't I?
I was just going to say, Cloud, or Silence, I think you would know at least some of the story. Longer than you've been alive. There are some alive, but it was like 100 and some years ago when there was always one. You know that there's a statue on the north side of the mountain, like that the Castle Waterdeep, the Mount Waterdeep. There's like a statue that stands there that looks like a Sahagwin or Sahagwin or Sawagwin, whatever you want to say it.
Those are fish people.
Yeah, like creatures from the Black Lagoon. Down on one knee. And you know that like these statues, that there's 6 of them, I believe, throughout the city. Different images that they are protectors of the city. That Sahagwin one was the only one that people knew of until about 100 years ago when the spell plague happened. These statues appeared out of the ethereal plane. And when they went on their rampage, and when they finally stopped, they were here. You know that allegedly someone has control of them, whether it be like the Black Staff or the Open Lord of Waterdeep or some other entity within the city does have control or power over them. But the last one to move was the last one to appear, which was that there's a griffin up by the castle somewhere. Stone griffin. And that one appeared, I think it was 10 years ago during the Sundering, when the world split. But basically, these things were protectors of the city, held away in the ethereal plane, like in a closet, and they were called upon in need when they were needed. But people had kind of forgotten about them until, 100 years ago when they appeared on their own and rampaged a while. But since then, the city has rebuilt and even rebuilt around and even upon them. Many of them are actually have become dwellings actually by private citizens or just by like squatters and homeless people or whatever. But they've become habitations. In fact,
let us borrow one.
You used to play at the Drunkard. Silence. The Drunkard is like basically the statue when it demagicked, it fell backwards, sitting down upon a building with its arms and head slumped, so it looks like it's drunk, right? Passed out. And since then, a tavern has been built in the lap.
Mm.
And when they throw you out, they just roll you down the legs. Like if you get kicked out, they just roll you down the legs.
Not a
you down.
dignified way to end a session.
Well, no, you're getting thrown down like no, it hurts. That's it's not like the nicest place. It's like kind of cool where it's built, but yeah, it's not nice. It's after all, it's called the Drunkards, right? So the Drunkard's Tavern. So that's. But that's the statues. There's 6 of the statues around. You know, there's a Sahagwin, there's a Griffin, there's a drunk one, there's a guy sunk into the ground, there's Aarakocra. Then there's a couple warrior ones in the city. And there's also one that's like collapsed in the Garden Ward, I believe. I think it's Garden Ward it's called, but it's collapsed. It basically hit the ground and broke apart into pieces. It's just rubble. But you come up. This is all cobbled here. Get carriages, people everywhere because it's not like the sun isn't even quite down yet. It's just approaching that time. So it's bustling. And even this time of year, this would be like beginning of October. And so up north, it was snowing. Here, harvest. And you know what I mean? It's like high summer. It's like nicest time of the year. There's no bugs out. Pleasant. It's still warm, but it's not sweltering hot. At least not today. Things are still green. And as you approach this area, you could see that along with like all the buildings and stuff, there are parks, and the parks have benches and they have fountains. And there's immense trees, and food vendors, and it's buffling. And people are kind of too polite to acknowledge how scuzzy you guys look. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, we need a wash.
Like you guys are like come rumbling through in your armor and your weapons, and you're not bathing, and you're not shaving, and you're not showering, and you guys clearly you're a bunch of adventurers. You guys got your treasure pouches bulging and shit like that, and
I'm not exactly
there's literally people who are like going out for a stroll and maybe go grab a pie to bring home, for dessert later, and you could see that there are like tutors walking home, and they're like blue uniforms, and they appear to be tutors because they got like book bags and they look quite scholarly, and they're dressed in blue, kind of reminiscent of uniform clothing. And again, street sweepers. And then here's you guys, just like, it'd be like today, just walking around like a suburban, metropolitan area, and you're just walking around in like dirty military fatigues or something, right? Oh, I've been hunting for 2 weeks in the bush, and I'm just walking around, still got my gun on me. And
is it times like this? Is it times like this that prestidigitation is a really good spell, which I don't have, which clerics don't get, unfortunately.
As you guys could smell the smell, you guys come to like this, like I said, everything's cobblestone. You guys come to this a corner, and Silence, that like it's here, and you guys can even see like Silence says, "We're here," or here it is. You guys can see that there's a street sign that says Troll Skull Alley. And right on that corner, like as you guys are approaching, you can see it like across the road, but on the corner. There's, again, nice cobblestone streets, everything. You can see a big, well, a manor. Think half mansion, half castle. Right? Like it kind of looks like a keep because it does have like turrets and towers and tall, narrow windows that look too close, like arrow slits. But it has 3 or 4 big wide stone steps that lead up to the front doors, and above those doors is a wooden, freshly painted and carved wooden sign that says Troll Skull Inn. And you can see that there are, exactly as I described, there are people who are entering out, and it looks like to be like a nice couple. You know, the man has a hat and one of those, you know, very common foot-long knife at his hip, and she has her parasol, which really seems to be the fashion for the middle and upper middle class. If they're not in their working clothes, it seems to be like men have a knife and a hat, and women have a parasol and bell-shaped dresses. They come out with a pie. He holds the door for her, and she takes his elbow, and they come down. And as they come onto the sidewalk, they walk right past you guys as you guys are pulling up and parking the wagon. There is another wagon, not a wagon, a carriage outside with a couple. Well, you can't even tell if they're boys or girls. They're just that age. They're like, I don't know, could be 10, could be 14, with their hair slicked back, and they're in like doublets and stockings. They're just standing near the doorway of this carriage, as there is like a man up in the driver's seat waiting. They're all uniformed, and the horses are very nice. And then you guys pull up with your stank horse and wagon.
Stank horse.
And they look, but they don't like I said, they're far too polite and civilized.
Garl, seeing that, he will grab one of the many holy symbols he has, and he'll grab it, he'll lift it on up, and he'll say, "In the name of the God of hospitality, he desires you to sacrifice and offer that pie unto his worshiper."
You don't need to lay it on now, Fake.
Yeah, don't.
This is what I did, my man. And just ask politely.
But that's what Garl's doing. He's being Garl.
Okay. Well, you approach and you try the spiel. They actually kind of laugh, and she nudges the guy, and he hands you a silver piece. And he says, "Here, be along your way before I call the watch." And he just, but they're like not like assholes about it. They just kind of laugh, actually.
Garl will go ahead and take the silver piece with his one hand, still holding the holy symbol, but he'll really make sure his little gnome hand.
Holy symbol. What kind of god, by the way?
He just grabbed one of he has multiple holy symbols. He just grabbed one of them and doing that shtick. He didn't care which one, just.
Okay, well, roll me a D6. Okay. 1 is evil, 6 is good. Okay, it is a good god. Okay, they just give you one and whatever. They just kind of laugh, whatever.
But with Garl's free hand that's taking the silver piece, he'll make sure that he gets the silver piece, but touches that fancy dude's hand with his dirty paw.
Okay. Okay.
And say thank
Again.
you. And then
All right.
Garl will take the silver piece and put it in his pouch.
Okay. And they start while they'll get a few feet away, and she's like, "Oh, that was like super sweet of you." And she leans over, gives him a quick kiss on his cheek.
If Garl notices that, he'll say, "What about mine?"
Have you already forgotten your greenness?
No, I haven't forgotten her. I just need more.
And the fellow says, "We've done our charity today. Ask the next ones who come out." But there's, like I said, there's people all over. You can see, like, down the cul-de-sac that there's like a fountain and some kids playing like near the fountain in the cul-de-sac, and there's like another, looks like a little cafe way down at the end of the cul-de-sac. People set up outside, sitting at little tables. But
there's a fountain, you said, right?
Way down, yeah, at the end of the cul-de-sac, in the cul-de-sac, yeah.
Okay, well, is it a big fountain?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's like got like, it looks like, a cast iron or bronze, kind of, just fountain that's spraying out and collecting water, and then it has like the reservoir or pool around it, with like a stone ledge that people could sit on and stuff if you want. Just one kid keeps climbing up and just jumping down, and a couple others are running away, running around, and there's people sitting at a like little French outdoor cafe type thing out in the street, and all in the cul-de-sac. Like it looks like a totally different business. Like, but this one, there's no outdoor seating, but you could smell that the foods and by the horses and wagons outside, and the openings and closings of the door. It's a very busy business too. There just seems to be a lot of businesses on this cul-de-sac.
Garl will turn to his party and say, and point down at the fountain at the base. "A public bath! Let's go!"
Okay.
Only in the summer when it gets too hot.
How warm is it? Is it warm enough?
Oh sure, yeah. It's
just a fountain, right?
The weather.
Funny thing is, Ryan,
like,
kids do that in
like
Switzerland.
Yeah, I can see that. But yeah.
Up in villages, up in the mountains, when it's hot, kids just go to the giant fountain in the village centre and swim.
This is the noble quarter of Waterdeep.
I can totally see kids swimming in the fountain. No problem with that.
And like Garl cares.
Yes, he needs to get clean.
I will join washing myself off in the fountain. I wouldn't say I'm going to swim in it, but I will go up to the fountain and bathe, like sit on the side and splash water.
You can totally go. The kids all kind of like are kind of scream and run away as you guys like approach, but it doesn't take long before you guys have even come to a complete stop. And Serac and Warville get off the wagon, climb down from the wagon too. The kids already have come back. They're running. One kid splashing his arm, and they're kind of looking at you. And two of them are like already like kind of running around silence, right? Like they just recognize. I don't know. Kids are weird, but they're already kind of like running around. They're like, "Do you play that?" And they point to like your instrument. And then right when the first kid says it, then the second one is like, "What are you?" A kid says to you, Nicodemus. And then by that time,
later, I am a priest of Bacchus and the defender of Bryn Shander.
He's got great alcohol.
How old are the kids?
You smell like my dad.
Dad.
Well, your dad must have some great cologne. I'd like to try some of it.
You're smelly. And he runs away.
Kids. I've missed them.
Garl just gets up there and takes a dive on into the fountain, the equipment and all, and starts rolling around, kind of scrubbing and getting stuff and getting whatever funk that may be on him off. And then after about 5 minutes of that, he'll climb up onto the ledge there by Nicodemus and sit there and say, that's refreshing.
I'm feeling a little better myself already. Is splashing water, cleaning myself, a little bit here and there.
Clear, cool water. Clean,
Kick.
clear, cool
Drink
water.
it like lacks a certain kick that I'm used to drinking.
Whoever might kind of be looking around, even like Cloud preening his feathers with the use of some water.
Oh yeah, I'm molting, by the way.
The people sit at the outdoor cafe. There is a couple of fucking bitchy old ladies, you can tell, sitting there all prim and proper, just with their nostrils flaring, just looking at you guys, aghast. Just, they have never seen anything so
Hey, ladies, would you like a drink?
painfully. They look down. And they lean their heads together, and you can tell they're muttering, and they're like, kind of glance up, and they snarl and keep muttering to one
It's
another.
nice to know that people haven't changed.
You guys clean up enough to where you're like, oh, I think we're presentable. Maybe we could go into a business. At least it's terrible you have to take a bath before you go somewhere to take a bath, but that's pretty good. You guys are kind of picking up your gear when you guys notice that from that cafe, standing just at the perimeter of that cafe with his hands on his hips, is a human man with a bald patch, and he kind of looks like Don Adams.
Who's John?
Get Smart.
Oh, okay.
He kind of looks like Don Adams with a mustache, and he's wearing a nice set of clothing, and he's standing there with his hands on his hips, his coattails kind of whipping in the brisk wind as he's just standing there, and he's looking at you guys. Disapprovingly. And when you kind of knows him, then he kind of frustratedly shakes his hand. He starts walking up to you guys really brisk, and he's like, people are trying to eat here. What the hell do you guys think you're doing? He's like looking at all of you guys now. With you guys made eye contact, so he's decided to approach and give you guys a piece of his mind about. He's like, I'm trying to run a family business here, and you guys are bathing right here in the fountains like a bunch of. And he looks at the rare croaker and kind of steps away, kind of like, holy shit. And he's like, what? He's like, why don't you guys take all this stuff and move along? Get going.
No.
Well, I'm clean.
I'll flip him a diamond. And then I'm going to spread my wings out as far as I can and just walk sideways away from him.
His jaw hits the floor.
Garl
It
just
stops
say,
him dead in his tracks.
Well, that's nice of you, Cloud.
Literally, Cloud. Like he just stops his tracks. His jaws hit the floor. He's just holding this thing, just like
Yeah, and I have my
speechless.
wings out, just trying to make myself as big as possible while I walk sideways away from him.
And he does. He kind of looks at you and kind of stumbles back a couple steps and looks back at the diamond, and he's in absolute shock. But he does. He kind of stumbles away, looking back from the diamond and he walks by the table with the old ladies, and the old ladies say something to him, and all he does is clench in his fist, and he kind of stumbles, running back into his business.
As he's doing that, Garl will jump up and say, no! Grab one of the holy symbols, not caring which one, hold it on up, and say, the God of hospitality told us to bless this fountain with our presence and essence.
The old ladies, by now, they just get up and they just grab their bags and their parasol. It looks like they're just leaving. They're just getting out. They're so disgusted. They're just leaving. The other people are just trying to not notice they're going on. A couple people you can tell are kind of smiling as they speak with their dining mate. But
I would like to cast thaumaturgy and make a rumble of thunder behind the ladies.
Oh yeah, that makes them scoot away faster. It does. It does. It totally does. It totally does. Anyway, so yeah, you guys can get cleaned up enough where you guys feel confident about.
And then ominous whispers in one of their ears as they're running away.
Okay. As you guys are like kind of deciding, well, okay, where do we go then? Because you guys, I imagine you guys will. Nicodemus, you had said something about the pies at Troll Skull Manor. So you guys have to go back to the opening of the cul-de-sac. That's
Well,
it. Just
if you recall correctly, Troll Skull Alley is where the Waffle crew live, sell pies.
oh yeah.
But, okay.
Yeah.
By the way, rumors I've heard, the reason they came to the show is because one of the guys on there was involved in a scandal where he was sending pictures of himself in a costume, minus, some parts of the costume, making it rather risque, to women for the show.
Oh, yeah, I have no idea. All I know is once Christopher stopped doing it, I lost interest. No, that's right. He didn't do he stopped Penny Arcade.
Yeah.
Or, not Penny Arcade, you know what I mean. Acquisitions, that's what it was. He stopped doing acquisitions. No, I don't know. I didn't hear anything about it. I just know it just stopped, and I actually didn't even watch the last 3 episodes.
A new one up with sometime with Perkins running it, and I believe Evelyn will still be in it, and the other guy, but not Holly, and not the dude who was involved in the scandal. That's why they stopped it. Is because of that.
I'm sorry you don't get to see Anna. Do which is one I really liked from Anna. It was on their channel.
Yeah.
Whatever channel she's on.
Miss Clicks, I think.
Yes, Miss Clicks, exactly. She did the Lost Mines of Phandalin.
Oh, really?
She DM'd it.
Okay. I think I saw like the opening episode or something. It was just so horrible.
Oh, it was good though to see like a newbie DM. It was really fun. It really was. Because like my tabletop group, I don't know if I told you guys that, but I'm like, okay guys, I've been like DMing here for like 4 years. I'm kind of burning out. One of the guys manned up, put on the big girl DM panties, and he's like, I'll do it. It's like 3 sessions in, he's already like, he's already overwhelmed, eh? Anyways. As you guys are kind of getting everything together, you guys look over, and you guys can see Warvel is standing ways away, about 30 feet away, and you can see that he's looking at a section of wall where all these pieces of paper attached to basically.
God, I wanted a poster for him.
And I was gonna say exactly. He just tears it down. It's like he's reading something, and he just crumples it up, and he comes back over with his head hung low. And yeah, and you can tell he looks kind of more nervous than he has been for a while. Yeah. That's so you guys could go to Troll Skull Alley, just down the street. You guys go past like a woodworking shop. Looks like there's even like a blacksmithy. Because you could smell like the occasional smell of like the coal furnace of a forge. And
Pardon
me?
I still don't have enough money to afford plate mail, unfortunately.
There is another big mansion almost directly across from Patrol Skull Alley. It's in like a building or two, but a big 3-story mansion, and the top of it floor looks like it's like all glass. That's the thing about Waterdeep, is you guys have never seen so much glass in your whole lives as there is in Waterdeep. There's actually like most of the buildings have glass windows.
Wow, what a place to go ahead and cast Shatter.
Oh shit. Oh, any thunder spell would probably be pretty bad here. Like, and you brought a Tempest Cleric here.
Let's knock on the door.
Yeah, well, yeah, Troll Skull Manor. You can go up the stairs. You can park your horse near that carriage. And you guys, Warvel's like, I'm just gonna wait out here.
If you're waiting alone, then someone may recognize you. But if you're in this group with us, they'll not notice a dwarf as much as they'll be looking at demon guy, satyr.
Huh.
Gnome.
All right. He just kind of shrugs and
I don't. It's a. I'm
kind
not
of
telling
pulls
you
his
to do it,
pulls his
just
hood
giving
up.
you-
Pulls his hood up against the wind.
Yeah, and pull your cloak up.
Yeah. You guys go up the 3 or 4 stone stairs to the doors. You open up. As soon as you open it up, the smell of warm air and baked goods like just hits your senses, like just warm air and baked goods, and the bustle of voices and diningware and cutlery and glasses, and you can see that there are several tables in this tap room. Very nice tap room. It looks like the building looks like it's quite an old building, but it looks all freshly renovated and shiny and waxed and polished on the inside. It has a beautiful wooden bar with a big mirror behind it, lined with bottles and glasses. There are people sitting at tables in groups of 2 and larger. Again, all dressed like a minimum upper middle class, right? A lot of young people. There are a couple older people who are eating, who have like pies on the table, are not uncommon sights. Everybody is, and everybody is enjoying something. There are servers coming out and carrying wooden platters with steaming pies. In fact, one just comes out of nowhere behind you guys. Oh, excuse me, sir, and just right through you guys, between and through and over to another table, and sets down some food at a table. Bartender says, "Well, Matt." You could see that there's a half elf.
A half elf.
Wait, do you think adventurers are working in the bar?
Fair enough. Some, sure. I mean, when they retire, I plan to.
There's at least one retired adventurer that works in a bar.
Yeah. Durnan.
Well, waiter, Garl, say, what type of flour do you use in your bread?
He's oh god, gluten intolerant.
Oh, I think we have almond flour. Cattail? I don't know.
You said you use known ground bone flour? How dare you?
He says, no. That was a long time ago. There hasn't been actual bone flour used here in, well, I think it was 30 years. I'm not sure. Because the orphanage closed down right after that.
Jesus Christ.
And Carl will look around the establishment looking for other gnomes.
Oh, and just one thing, Alex. That's canon. Hey, Michael?
Oh,
Huh?
that'd be beautiful, is it?
No, it's canon. I don't remember. Did Chris Perkins talk about that?
Maybe.
Yeah, yeah. At one point, Troll Skull Manor was an orphanage, and then it just
Oh yeah, I recall
they're
that.
being like cannibalized, so it was shut down.
And was it the other reality or
They
something?
they ran out of stock or what?
But they didn't delve much into it. I forgot.
Yeah. No, it's actually in the Waterdeep Dragon Heist. If you read about like the history, it's actually in there. And it was like an orphanage where they're cannibalizing the kids, baking them into pies. So no, that's just part of the history. That's why some of the people come here, he says. You must be one of them. What can I get you there?
I'll have a kindergartner.
And as he's talking, you can see like off the racks, glasses are just coming on their own accord, or coming off the racks and turning over and being placed down in front of you. Go tink, 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 and as these glasses are moving, he just grabs a bottle and begins pouring. Far Eye.
Mm-hmm.
Those glasses that are moving. Your clerical spidey senses, or your the stink lines coming off your head. Your clerical spidey senses are telling you that that's not telekinesis. That's a undead. Like that's like some sort of.
What, you're saying that there's a ghost
Unholy power.
carrying the glasses?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Maybe not a ghost, but some sort of unseen undead. You feel it. You're a cleric.
you
You
mean-
feel it.
So it's okay. Shit. Okay. Well,
But yeah, you see that it's placing glasses down for the half-elf bartender to pour drinks into for all of you. And then once the glasses are down, you can see that there's a rag at the end of the bar that again resumes wiping the bar. As like when the glasses are put down, it goes over and starts wiping the bar.
sorry, I sense this, but Nicodemus doesn't.
Well, I guess you're a cleric too. Yeah, you would. I just picture it was closer to your side, but yeah, you notice it too, that when it walks by to go wipe the counter, you're like, whoa. Pardon me?
Is it infernal or unholy or anything, or is it just a spirit?
Just a spirit.
Okay.
But it is an undead creature. An
Okay,
ethereal kind, or whatever. A ghost, a specter.
Spectre?
You don't know.
Uh-huh.
Ghost, specter. Something.
Do we want to turn undead?
It seems to be working right now, but
So what's the story with your unseen servants, sir?
he says more the history. He says it's I think it's the old bar. We think it's the old bartender. He says it was and he leans in and whispers across the bar so that the rag wiping down at the end doesn't hear. And he says it was more of a pain earlier. He says, but once they decided to reopen the place, it just continued working like nothing had changed. Before that, it was trying to chase everybody out, but now that it's back to business, he shrugs, it seems okay.
She,
Anybody want to speak with dead? Does it ever harm anybody anymore?
And he shakes his head. He says, no, not since it reopened. He says it used to try to chase people out and would do things to people, but now that we've been open, all it does is things like that. He says, wipe the bar.
What
Once we
thing
lock up,
do?
once we lock up, he says if I forget to flip the sign, it'll flip the sign. He says it'll sweep the floor sometimes.
What if somebody comes in the middle of the night while you're closed?
That hasn't happened yet, but I'm sure they'd get quite a start. Because
What kind
I'm
of
pretty
things
sure
did it do before this opened?
Pardon me?
What kind of things did it? You said it did things to people before it opened. What kind of things did it do to people before you opened?
Oh, touch them, pinch them, mostly scare them to get out of here. I don't know if.
Okay,
I mean,
not like
we
drain their
did find
soul or
skeletal.
anything?
Well, I don't know
The
if
life
it ever
force.
came down to that.
sounds like no live complaint.
Are you trying to figure out what it is, Michael? If you want to roll in religion, I think, or an
Really?
arcana.
No, I do not. That's no. I'm just.
Well, as
My
long as it's not.
curiosity peaked. How
He
about
says,
that?
no, just this place is a real. By now, like your glasses are poured and there's like nice amber. He poured basically the same thing for all of you, and it's a beautiful glass of beautiful amber liquid.
Well, as long
And
as it's not causing any problems, I have no issues.
he says, no, not no longer. As I said, once this place got back to business, I mean, it was abandoned for a long time. He says, Volo, you guys know Volo?
Yeah.
Valentine?
Yeah.
He says,
I hear he wrote a rather interesting Creatures from Monsters.
he did. He might even be here tonight. He shows up when he can, but I don't know. He might be down in Baldur's Gate. I don't know.
Was he able to identify this poltergeist?
It was like someone who used to tend bar here.
Garl, hearing this conversation, has made up in his mind he will not touch that drink or anything that is served in here.
Okay. Yeah, but he's like, yeah. If he says there's a long history of this place. He says, I don't know. He says, I know some of it. He says, but he says it was abandoned for a long time when Volo had it, and then eventually it passed on to the current owners, who are fill in the blank. I'm not gonna put it to canon that it was, but it's new ownership. They got it from Volo for doing him a favor, and so far it's been open and doing well. And yeah, this is like an old bartender, but from when? He doesn't know. He doesn't know if it was like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 200. He doesn't really know. The manor's been here a long time. He says Troll Skull Alley's been here a long time. He says this is named Troll Skull Alley because they're literally this is where they used to like pile up the troll skulls whenever the trolls would come out of the moors. And they'd like kill them. They'd pile up all the skulls here and burn them. And he says, so this is Troll Skull Alley, Troll Skull Manor. History. PBS. He says, would you guys want something to eat?
Yeah, I'll take a kindergarten pie.
Okay. He
I'll
laughs.
take something off the daycare menu.
Mm. He laughs. As I said, that's part of our history. He says, they don't do that no more. He says, but there are meat pies, there are fruit pies. He says, usually everything is pretty seasonal. But he says, there's other food and drink, of course, too. But the pies are kind of what we
Garl,
are famous for.
Garl will be looking around the room to see if there's any other gnomes about.
Sure.
All right, and then he'll start counting gnome heads to see and see how many come up missing while he's there.
Any interesting information coming your way recently?
And he stops counter wiping, and you can see like this bar is like beautiful, like the actual bar top.
Yeah.
It looks like it's a center of like one massive log. It's so shiny it looks like it's wet, and but yet you can feel like the texture of the grain and other imperfections in its surface, but it's still mirror smooth to touch. And he just kind of leans his elbow and he shrugs and he goes, I don't know, I hear a lot. He says, like what?
Hear any rumors of giant attacks?
He says, oh, giants. He says, yeah, he says people have been coming all over talking about giants all throughout the north.
Did you hear about an attack on Bryn Shander?
And he says,
by frost giants.
well, we heard the frost giants are attacking the coast all over, but nothing's come to Waterdeep yet. And you can see Serac, you can see like a little bit of relief in his brow as he.
Part of the reason might be is because up at Fireshear, was that it? The frost giants were driven away by the work of some famous heroes who blew up a warehouse full of smoke powder. And
he says, and he points at you and he says, now that I heard of.
You heard of that?
He says, I heard of.
The heroes were who did that.
He says, that was you guys?
Hey!
Yeah.
Well, he's asking. He's like, that was you guys?
Yeah, that was us.
Well, he says, first round's on the house then.
Perhaps.
Oh, that's what I like.
And he grabs another bottle.
And perhaps you may allow silence to tell you the tale tonight. Our bard has been working on the ballads for a while now.
Did you hear about the attack on Zentar Keep? Not Zental Keep, but Zentar Keep.
He says, that I have not. And he says, but you play music? He says to Silence after he's told that.
Yep, I play a lot of music. Why, you want to hear something?
Be my guest. And he motions over, and you could see that there is like a little raised platform. I would not call it a stage.
Would you like some backup Silence?
Basically,
That'll be good, yes.
It's only like about 18 inches off the ground, and well, the two of you could easily go up there comfortably, but really it'd be like, yeah, it's not much of a stage. I wouldn't call it a stage. It's just a raised area. At most,
right.
No, 10 by 10 is too much, even. Smaller than that.
Bigger
than 5 by 5, smaller than 10 by 10. Yeah. And it's just against the wall. And you can see that there is like a couple little like sconces for torches or lanterns for lighting, and there already is a tall stool up there. And that's really it. But when you go and you step up there and you're like, you sit quick, you take off your backpack and you dig out your instrument and you sit down and you begin just tuning and warming up softly to yourself. Silence, you can hear that like how the corner acoustics are projecting the sound out and the vaulted ceilings in here in the tap room. And the half elf is like still at the bar, but he's like watching where Silence and Far Eye have gone to prepare play music, and he's kind of looking in their direction just with a dreamy smile on his face, anticipating the music. And then he attention snaps back to the rest of you there. And he says, "Oh, sorry about that." He says, "I love it when people come in here to play music." He says, "Get her to talk to someone after. We'll make sure that she's paid if she's good." He says, "Well, we'll pay her, but no matter how good or bad she is, but we'll pay her well if she's good." And he says, "Anything else I can do for you?" He says,
Do you have any rumors of any giant attacks that have happened more locally that we could possibly intervene on, since you know that we are, well, let's just face it, we are known and legendary giant killers. Anyone willing to?
he says, "I wouldn't know." He says, "But I'm sure it wouldn't be hard to find." He says, "Hell, even a caravaner that needed protection, or if you're to go to Castle Waterdeep, maybe they have official missions going." He says, "I don't." He says, "I like Sir Bar all day, and I party and sleep at night." He says, "So I only know what others tell me around here." And he's like, "But he says, as I said, I'm sure even from a caravan to a mission," he says, "because I know that there is a bit of growing concern about these giant attacks, because, well," he says, "now with like harvest beginning to come in and being transported," he says, "well, that can't be interrupted because people will need to store food before winter comes. It'll be a long winter if there's no food. And I've already heard concerns of some disruption to that." And you could just think 2 million people here in one city. Like, yeah, if the moving of the harvest were interrupted, there'd be famine. Hold on a second, you guys. Coming. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, well, I don't know.
No, well, thanks. Appreciate it.
You guys can get food here. You can get drink here. You guys can get lodging here. They don't have like a whole whack of rooms, but they have enough rooms for rent.
The horse and the wagon.
There is a stable around like the back. Yes, there's like it's not part of the business, but it's not far away because, well, I mean, it's a horse and carriage society, so there's one within like 100 yards. There's a stable. Oh, hi, Luke.
I think.
Hi.
I think Garl, as far as he wants, he'll sleep in the wagon there, especially after hearing all the uneasy tales about the undead and small people being ground up for meal.
If you wanted to stay in the stable, it really wouldn't be an issue. If you want to sneak in and do it, it wouldn't be an issue. If you want to just like be up front, they're gonna charge you a silver piece. It's a silver piece for the horse and a silver piece for you, and a silver piece for the wagon overnight. That's so either you're gonna sneak in and do it, or you're gonna pay the silver piece. Either way, but they don't even like. You're like, oh, can I sleep in the barn? They're like, okay. Like they don't even care, and it's nice. The stables are very nice. There's an area outside with like an awning style roof that runs the whole length of the building, where there are wagons, there are carriages, there are other pulled vehicles that are underneath this thing, just backed up, and the inside in the stable area there are many stalls with horses with like different labels on each stall, and there's a big hayloft up inside where it's a very nice place to catch a few winks, because there's like clean straw, there's clean hay, there's all the warmth from the barn comes up.
But
inside,
Garl will
yes?
pay the. Garl will pay the
silver.
The silver for the that he got from the couple.
Yep.
For the horse, and then he'll take and pay the silver out of his own pocket for the wagon. And once he has that settled there, then he'll sneak on in.
Okay. Yep. It's easy for you to sneak in and climb up into the hayloft and stay out of sight in the hayloft, because it's not like people aren't always up in the hayloft. Now and then, probably not even by now, because it'd be evening, all those chores would be done. So yeah, no, it's easy for you to sneak up into the hayloft where there's, like I said, there's clean straw. It's warm. It's dry.
That's not good. I may join you.
But
if you go looking for him, they saw him, but they don't know where he is.
But when we leave here, or when the party gets done with the table and whatnot, all Garl will do is say, I'll go, because the waiter is the one that told us about the stable, right?
Yeah, sure.
And Garl will say, well, I'm going to go take the horse and wagon over to the stable and get it taken care of.
Yeah.
That way the party knows where he's at.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, I assume we're still setting up for this concert, so I'll wave to go, but I'm busy setting up.
Well, I know Garl is going to go stay there. Whoever wants to stay at Troll Skull may stay. You guys can eat, you can drink, you can get accommodations.
Okay, yeah, I suppose I'll stay at the end instead of in the.
Yeah, it's not very, like a gold piece each would cover everyone, I would say. A gold piece you could cover your whole.
I'm performing with Silence, so share backgrounds.
Yeah, you can ride on her coattails, I guess.
Well, I've got the share background. That's why I was like doing it. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I'm happy to like you do the help action and give her advantage on our performance.
Sure, do that. Roll a performance check, Silence. A charisma performance check with advantage.
Would that be my proficiency bonus of 3 or?
Yeah.
Okay, so my charisma is 4, proficiency bonus 3, so that's 6 if I count. No, wait.
Okay, and 7. and because this is role playing, I want you to roll with advantage. And because technically, I think you would. Wouldn't you give yourself like a bardic inspiration?
Inspire yourself with bardic.
You're not allowed to inspire yourself. Only other people.
Yeah, that's true.
Are you sure?
I can give her a guidance.
Well, there you go. Add a guidance. Yeah. So roll your d20 twice. Take the highest, add your +7, and then add another d4. So die 20, a d4.
I don't have guidance, so it would have to be Nicodemus, does it?
Nicodemus said he was going to give one to her. I'd like the peak of the performance.
I mean,
I did my 2 die 20 rolls and a die 4.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I guess without a modifier in that one.
Well, okay, what'd you roll in the die 20s?
I rolled an 8 and a 24. I'm going with a 24.
Okay, a 24 plus a d4.
1d4 unmodified, which is 2, so
26. Okay.
26, yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's like pretty damn good. So
your music, I'll give you music.
So pretty much take back your money. You guys don't have to pay for a thing. None of you have to pay for a thing. 26 is like beyond very hard, approaching godly. So you regale the stories of you and your companions. You decide, well, because you kind of go through the same, like the standards, right? The last time you're in Waterdeep, you played like the stuff that was like, doing well then, and people still remember. And there's like, there's a couple that like you're not sure if they're too trendy and they might have been forgotten. You try them, but there's still some people who are like, I really appreciate you playing that one.
And go ahead.
I was gonna say, as the night progresses, it's kind of at the point where like you're not even sure what to play. You're kind of running out of materials. So you're like, well, you want? I got this tentative work I've been talking on that talks about Bryn Shander, Fire Shear, even a little bit again about Port Last, and about the dragon searching for the ring. You haven't named the ring. You've only used metaphors of it to talk about. You've made it like an ideal, symbolic thing about how they're trying to achieve an ideal. and you're like, well, I got this tentative work. I'm gonna just try some of the words and some of the phrasing, and try a couple of word like these chumps will never know, and it ends up being like astounding. It's ends up being an astounding performance of what's it called? It's like I can't think of what it's called. Just where you're just doing it spontaneously.
Improv.
Yeah, improv, but no, it's still not
Spontaneous. I don't know. But,
where it's like basically it's flowing out of you. There's a term for writing, right? When you're writing, you're just writing. You just put your hand down. You're just writing. It's
you're
just
in the flow. You're in the zone.
Right, but there's a damn term for that. But for that outflowing, that outpouring of creative. Anyways, and that's what happens, and you don't even remember like 60% of what you played or sung or whatever. You're just doing it to entertain these folks and trying out different things, and it just
back at home.
When she talks,
exactly.
When she talks about fire eyes, lightning, and thunder magic, I use my thought material to make more thunderous booms.
Well, I was gonna say, and that especially because of that too, about the thunder and the storm and the tumultuous upheaval and the maelstrom about to swamp everything, and the chaos and the upheaval of it, which really rings a bell with you, Far Eye. But you guys have such a memorable performance that you guys don't have to pay for any accommodations. And like I said, here you can do everything. You can get clean, you can eat, you can drink, you can sleep, you can do everything you need to do here. And
I don't know if they were clean off my armor for me, but I want to get that done as well, because
you can. It'll be sent out, but it can be done. There's just down the street, there is a smithy, and they
clean and repair armor,
and they deal with arms and armor. It's not just door hinges and horseshoes. At some point in the night, Far Eye, or not Far Eye, Nicodemus, because like it's basically all in the house. You're like enjoying all the variety of spirits. They have a huge variety of spirits and ales and wines. Like, it's nice to be back in civilization because there's everything. Like, they have so much for you to sample.
Let's quite summon the satyrs again.
Huh. Oh, hold on, I gotta shut my door. Dog opened it.
I'm thinking we should probably find out about the other giant attacks in some way.
Serac, at some point, he's eating. You see, he's eating. He's maybe not drinking and getting drunk, but he's been eating. And right now he's got like I don't know, like basically a roast. Like, you don't know, it looks like a roasted chicken, but it looks a little bit too big. Maybe it's a duck, a goose, something. But he's eating that, and he smiles, and he says, I found out where the Roaring Horns live.
Awesome.
And he says,
Where?
we're very close to them. Because remember, I did say it was in the North Ward. And he says, or did I? But he says, they're here in the North Ward. Their manor's not far away.
I'll be right back.
Yeah. I mean, it's late at night now. But he says, we can go talk to them tomorrow, and then we can find me a ship. And Warvel clears his throat, and he goes, he has a plate of food, some sort of like roasted or big rib roast, some type. Again, you don't know if it's beef or what, but it's like torn apart, and some of the bones are bare, and there's roasted potatoes on the table, and there's bread on the table. He has a big tankard of ale that's almost empty. And he says, I might, and he kind of motions with a hunk of bread in his hand. He motions at Sarah, and he goes, I might, thinking I might go south with him.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Why?
He says. He kind of looks around at the people, shifty-eyed. He's like, there might be too many people looking for me.
Fair enough, but we've been doing a pretty good job of keeping you safe.
Well,
do you think Sarah will be able to keep you safe?
Well, I was hoping if I go far enough south, they won't be looking for me.
Well, fair enough.
Good point.
And, he's like, if they got posters up of me in the town of here, he says, I'm on people's minds. He's like, and I can't tear down every poster we see.
Yeah.
And I suppose it would be pretty difficult for you to be disguised the entire time. Well, I wish you luck anyway.
He's like, but I didn't want to just do it. I wanted to know, after all, you guys spared my life, so it's up to you if you had different plans. I honestly was just thinking one NPC could escort the other NPC, and they'd both get. Well, you guys can see if you guys do just if you guys did look at a wanted poster, you guys know what they're asking. Like, the reward is 5,000.
Well,
it's a lot of money. Hey, how about you turn it in and then split the money with you? I mean, how long will you be in for, You have the money when you...
Oh, I don't know if it's $5,000 is enough.
Okay, yeah, never mind. All right. Just a thought.
I think if we were gonna turn him in, we would have done it by now.
Yeah. Even Silence knows. Silence, you know that like Waterdeep does not infringe on. They try not to infringe on the everyday citizen's rights, but you know that punishments are dealt out swiftly and severe. And like even back on the dock, you remember Silence, that like, you know, when you guys were talking to the Magister there, you kind of, when Nicodemus kind of backtalked him a little bit, you like gasped a little bit and held your breath because yeah, like they can no, if a Magister just thought, okay, well, whatever, your punishment is death, they can just deal it out, right? Like how else do you keep like 2 million people safe in a fantasy world? 2 million ordinary people in a fantasy world. They don't. Justice is dealt with swift and severe. So, geez, who knows? Is that all? If that's what they wanted to do with him, was like lock him up, well then maybe. But who knows what type of punishment they might? Who knows?
All right, so the chance
you just don't know.
All right.
It depends on basically who is dealing it, right? Like, yeah, it's hard to say. But that's all he is suggesting, is that he would go with Serac down south to get maybe where they're not looking for him. And it's just the DM's way of and both NPCs, why not? Why wouldn't the other NPC just go escort the other one?
If Garl was there during the conversation, he'd probably say, well, why don't we just go ahead and knock out a peasant, polymorph him into him, and then turn him in, get the money, and go.
Specifically, a polymorph wouldn't work, but you could be there anytime.
Yeah,
polymorph is to beast.
Yeah.
To a beast. So you could turn him into a dog and take him to the pound.
Yeah.
But not much of a reward.
No.
So anybody got disguise self? No.
Yes, I do. But that is disguise self.
Yeah. And that's what Garl would be running down, all different possible things that he might have known or like that.
Well, how good are you at disguising someone else, Garl? Like, or yourself?
I don't have disguise other.
I do have a nice disguise kit, and I am.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
I am proficient that way. What we got to do is find somebody that's about the right height. We knock them out, bind them, disguise them so he's quiet, and disguise them, and keep them quiet, and then turn them on in. Collect them, because 5,000 gold. I mean, come on, that's a lot of cheddar.
And if
we need to find a way out of the city immediately after, but I could turn him into like a mouse after we turn him in and take him out.
And this is Waterdeep. We have to be careful, because if they find out we've cheated, it's going to be punished. The guards are everywhere, not just in Waterdeep.
How much harder could it be to defeat them than it was the giants?
Here's the thing: the bunch is not far here, right?
Well, here's also the difference. The guards might not be more difficult to defeat than the giants, but the giants deserved it. The guards do not. They're just doing their
Yeah, I agree.
You know,
well, if they come up against us, they deserve it.
Guard lives matter.
Garl will say, Garl lives matter.
That's no surprise.
Fuck, he's got that tattooed on his bicep.
That's an idea.
Next to an image of his greediness.
Yes. And all the wives he'll collect along the way.
So since it's the end of the day, as a side note, I I have my spells available. Does anyone want to send a message to anyone?
Not at the moment that I can think of.
Garl would say, yes, I need to send one to my greenness. Let her know,
Okay.
watch out for the giants. They're on a rampage. I'll be home soon. Keep the furs warm.
Okay. I cast sending, and I repeat what Garl said. And yeah. I say from Garl at the end because that's nowhere near the number of words we're sending.
So the night can go on. Do you guys want to pay for anything? Like I said, you guys like a lot of it gets blurry, but people are talking to you because, like I said, she's singing about your guys' accounts, so it does get a lot of people who are curious asking you about them. And Michael, you do end up getting to recount your slang of Shroofy
Yes.
several times throughout the night.
Well, I say to something else I would suggest to the party that if we're looking for information on where the giants where the different giant attacks have been, we may want to try to get in contact with the Harpers. Remember, we met a gnome a while back who was a member of the Harpers, and I don't remember if he gave us a contact and that we could talk to.
He told you guys if you guys were in Everland, who to get hold of.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be hard for you guys to, like, if you want to, like, try to contact some Harper connections here, you guys could possibly do that, because the Harpers would have some sort of hold in here in Waterdeep.
Oh.
I don't know. Plus, like I said, you guys are going to go talk to the Roaring Horn family to find out if they know anything about Sarak's father and this ring.
Yep. In the morning, we'll do that.
Anything else you guys wanted to do for the night?
Well,
I will fly over the city and do a lap, and then I'll come and turn in for the night.
You go and you take to the air, and you are like it's nighttime, but there's like the streets are lit, whether it be with gas lanterns or with oil lanterns or with like, what do you call it? Oh, what the fuck's it called? Permanent flame. Continual flame, and even like fairy fire or drift globes that just meander around on their own. Parts of the city are well lit, especially the better parts. And where you guys are here in the North Ward, this area is more well lit. There are rows of matching manors and townhouses. It's like very much a what's it called? A residential area. Like you guys are right on the edge of a residential area. Very residential and very upper middle to upper class. They said townhouses to mansions. It's nighttime, so there aren't many of them in the sky, but you can see that many rooftops have houses for pigeons in this area. There are many pigeon houses, and you're just like, oh, that's kind of curious. But it's nighttime, so they're not flying around. When your attention suddenly gets pulled back into reality because you hear the predatorial swoop of, or the swoop of predatorial wings, and you see that approaching you is a squadron of griffin riders. And you can hear that one of them is blasting a horn. And they come flying by, and clearly their attention is on you, and you can see that one of the lead guys is pointing, and he's pointing down to the ground.
The hell?
You're apparently you're not allowed to fly around in water.
Yeah, he's clearly signaling for you to like get out of the sky. Is his
Ah, poor Cloud.
Oh, I could totally just eat him alive and whatnot, but I'll come back down.
Okay. You land, and they leave the area, but only moments after. If it were combat, it would only be like a few rounds later. You could see a squadron of watch, the guys in the green and yellow with the truncheons and the shields and the tall helmets. They approach, and they're not like snarly or anything. In fact, they got like like they're walking casually, and they have like just nice pleasant smiles on their face. And one of them gives you a shout. He says, "Well met. What you doing for?"
I don't even talk to him. I just go back inside.
Yeah. He says, he shouts to you from over your shoulder. You hear him say, "If you want to fly, it's best recommended that you leave the city walls first." And he can tell he's being ignored.
I toss the gold coin over my shoulder.
Okay, well, you hear a scurrying of feet and someone grabs it, but if you don't look, you don't see who grabs it. But you're like in this area where, like I said, it's like mostly residential. You guys eventually, the night comes to an end. You guys go to bed when it's crack of dawn. You guys can go to sleep. Eventually wake up. You guys can, right in this area, maybe not on the cul-de-sac, but right in this area, you guys can go for like a proper bathhouse and have like a bath and a shave, or get clothing mended, or purchase some clothing. If you guys are gonna stay at the Troll Skull, which you guys are, because the music, especially if you guys are gonna play again, which you're almost like forced into promising that you would perform again. So you guys can buy clothing and leave your armor behind if you want, and look a little bit more civilized, or anything you want to do to that sort. And
I bathe and get some good clothing for that. Then
Garl gets up out of the hay.
How much for that fancier clothing?
Yeah, and it would all just be player's handbook costs. The only thing that is not player's handbook cost is if you buy any weapons, let me know, because there is a small taxation on certain weapons. That's it. But if you want to buy like anything else. It's just player's handbook costs. So, and some weapons are taxed, but not all of them.
Garl, when he wakes up and stretches out of the hay, one of the first things he's going to do is cast non-detection on himself again.
Okay.
He don't like these crazy city with floating balls and ground up gnome bread bones, and he's being a bit paranoid on some things, so he don't want someone invading his privacy unless he knows it.
My guess would be for everyone but Silence, it would be quite a thing because, I mean, even now, like for me, if I were to go someplace with 2 million people, I would have culture shock for a few days. Right? Like just to be around that many people. Like, but the thing is, like, even where you guys are at Trollskull Manor, you're like heading downstairs, and one staff, is like, oh, you're like, oh, I'm just going outside to like relieve myself. Like, oh, there's actually like washrooms here, and there actually is like flush toilets and running water. There's running water and heated water at the bathhouse. Like everywhere you go, there's like clean, palatable water, and a lot of places have running water, and almost all places have like proper sewage and lavatory facilities, and that in itself is pretty damn amazing.
Garl's idea of running water is that fountain where what he's calling the public bath, where the water is running from the top and trickling down and recycling. Mm-hmm. That's running water to Garl.
Just running downhill. Yeah. So you guys can pretty much spend your morning doing that, doing all your toiletries, doing any shopping, doing any sleeping in and stuff. And if anything else that you guys wanted to do before you guys go to the Roaring Horns, let me know. I'll take that as a no.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'll buy some fighting clothes for 15 gold pieces. That's fine.
Nice. And you can buy like anything, like colors, styles, materials. And again, not far from where you are. And it is like boutiques and shops. It's not like just an open air market with people selling fish and stuff like that, which you guys have experienced a lot of. As I said, Waterdeep is known as the City of Splendors, and the amenities and shopping is part of it too. Eventually, you guys find yourself deciding to just walk to the Roaring Horns because it's not far away at all, because it is just here in the North Ward. You guys are just on the border where the North Ward begins. It's just in the North Ward. And it's, like I said, there's rows of multi-storied townhouses on some steep hills. During the day, now you can see, Cloud, that the sky is full of fucking flocks of pigeons and doves. They're all over the place, moving in formation in just giant flocks. They go across the sky, making their weird sounds as they fly by, and they come back, and they're all over the place. It seems like, and there are like ones that are pure white, there's ones that are gray, there's ones that are banded, there's ones that are speckled, but just these giant flocks of pigeons. People seem to breed and raise pigeons.
Lunch squab.
And kids playing with nannies. You guys are fitting in a lot better. You guys make your way to like the Roaring Horn. All the streets are labeled, so it's not hard to find it all. Whether it be like a placard or a signpost or just on the side of the building or even carved into the sidewalk itself. But all the streets, main drags and intersecting streets are all labeled. So it's easy to find your way to the Roaring Horn. And when you do, you see that there is an estate, a fenced estate with like a manor house set upon it. And although it's only around noon, when you guys approach, you can see that there's a lot of wagons and carriages. And there is set up in the yard, you guys can see through the wrought iron that out in the yard. There's also like topiary trees and plants and flowers and stuff. But out in the yard, there's people and there's tables set up with like cloths and streamers and decorations, and again the smell of food cooking. And it is around noon, so you can see that a lot of people are nibbling and sipping glass and sitting under sun umbrellas, and it looks like that there's some sort of like party going on outside. And when you guys get near to the open gates, you can see that there are not so much guards as it is footmen in uniforms, and they kind of watch as you approach. There is like another footman on the other side who is like just is climbing down off a wagon. It looked like he was talking to the driver, and he climbs down as that wagon then begins to roll and it enters its way into the property.
Yeah.
Do the gates have locks?
They're wide open right now. There's just the footmen are just out.
Yeah,
it
but
looks like
I'm just wondering if they have locks that are.
Oh yeah, they would lock, but they're not.
Okay.
When you approach, they kind of look and they're like kind of scanning you, looking for something, and then his eyes kind of look up and he's like, "Do you have invitations?"
Garl look up at the lock that's on the locks that are on the gates, and he'll say, "Those are cheap locks. I've made better when I was just an apprentice." As far as that,
I'll hold out my medal as the hero of Bryn Shand. This is my invitation. I am the slayer of Trufi, the frost giant jarl, and the defender of Bryn Shander. I come here bearing the son of one of your good family friends, Sarak, who being chased by the frost giants, and we saved and delivered him.
It's Sarah kind of like, he's like, kind of gives like a bob of his head, like, "Yeah, that's me." And he's like, "Oh," he's like, "There's a party going on right now, but," he says, "I'll go get Master Kelvar. Give me a moment." And he runs, like sprints. And he just sprints down like the road entering the property, and you can see him just run.
Now, is he
Run
human?
in.
Is he
Yeah,
human?
he also was a human too. He was a young boy, about 15 years old, blonde hair, in like kind of a fancy doublet and stockings. Just footman. You could see that like another carriage comes rolling up, and you can see like one of them climbs up again, and they talk to the driver, and they get showed some, a slip of paper, and he hops down and goes rumbling again. It doesn't take long when that boy comes back, and he's not even puffing though when he comes sprinting back. And he says, "I found Master Kelvar. He's coming right this way." And it doesn't take all but a couple minutes when walking up the roadway, talking to people. You see where people stop and talk to him, and he has to acknowledge them and shake their hand and chit chat. You can tell just by his body language that he's like, "Oh, please give me a moment. I must deal with this right now." But you can see walking up is a man who appears to be in his 30s, kind of handsome, human, wearing robes. He too
politician.
He too is carrying, walking with like a walking stick, and alongside of him is an armored figure that shadows his every move, and it stands almost like 7 feet tall, like full plate armor, helm covering the whole face and head. Just
you do know over.
And
they eventually come up. There's your plate armor.
And he comes up and he sees you guys, and he gives like a quick nod and a bow, and he says, "Well, Matt, I hear you wanted to speak with me?" Questioningly. He says, "Oh, pardon me." He says, "I'm Kelvar Roaringhorn." And he extends his hand. And to introduce himself to all of you, you're going to introduce yourselves directly to him.
Yeah, why not? Garl will stand on up. I am King Garl of the goblins. I am the slayer and free of giants. I am the savior of many.
He has.
And I have many wives. Wink, wink.
Several.
He says, "Well, I have only one wife. My name is, as I said, Kelvar Roaringhorn." He gives a small dip to reach down to shake your hand. He says, "Archmage."
Well, you don't need the arch for me, mage. Just reach on down. I'll reach up.
He laughs. You guys, rest of you guys do your introductions, and he nods. He's like a friendly enough guy, like amiable, and as he's shaking hands, he explains. He says, "Sorry," he says, "we have family in from Cormier, so," he says, "we've been planning to feast and celebrate with them," and he says, "So I apologize for the distraction." And when he gets to Serac, it's Serac like introduces himself, but he's like, my father," and he like a point of recognition on his face, and he shakes his hand and he hugs him. He brings him in for a hug, and then they kind of laughs, and he's like, "Oh, I know your father well," and it's been quite some time since I've seen him. Where is he at? And Serac kind of looks around uncomfortably.
Help us with that one.
Oh. And he's, "Oh, I was hoping you would. Well, if this is business concerning your father," he says, "please," he says, forgive my rudeness. He says, come, follow me." He says, "Enjoy the hospitality." He says, "This is for family." He says, "Well, your father is practically family to me, so come." He says, let's go to my study where we can talk in private and more comfortably." And he leads you in to the property, to the cobblestone way. As I said, people are like blah blah, and even like little kids run up to him and they're like, "Kelvar," and they're like, "Do that again for us." And he just quick prestidigitation. He makes like a loud bang sound, and they scream and they run away. And old woman stops to, "Oh, the shrimp are lovely. I have it. Last time I had shrimp that big, they called them lobsters. Oh, it's delicious." And people are just, whatever. He's like hosting a party right now. people want to talk to him, but he very politely is able to slip away without telling them too much as to why he can't talk right now. But you guys all lead through, and some people acknowledge you, but most don't. After all, it is a family function. He leads you into the house. You can see that there are more footmen, young boys just as footmen. There are some young girls who are also dressed in the same footman uniform. There's even one old man who is like kind of giving orders to some of the younger servants as you guys walk through the house. And a woman with like an apron and a bonnet who has like clearly is like preparing food is like, Master Calvar, there seemed to be a problem. And he's like, oh no, just I have some unexpected guests that I must take care of this, so I'm to my study. And she's like, oh, I'll bring some refreshments. Have some refreshments sent for you. And he says, oh, that would be lovely. And he goes on and leads you guys through, and you guys go through like the main foyer of the house and like past the kitchens and a dining area which isn't being used for dining, but which is being used to prep food that is going out to the yard. He then leads you to a hallway where there's a small turn with a nice polished wooden door. He opens it. It doesn't seem to be locked, but you do feel the pulse of magical energy when he touches the door to open it. You go into a study that is lined with shelves, leather chairs, leather couches, polished tables, a rug in the middle, a fireplace which is currently unlit, a mantle with some...
Currently unlit. Can somebody light that?
Oh, if you want. Do you say that?
Yes.
Okay, well, he'll...
I look over at Far Eye. Kind of
yeah.
Hey, can somebody light that? And I look over at Far Eye.
It's a fancy fireplace, so it's ready to go. Right? Uh-huh. Like, it's got the wood and the kindle. Everything's all set up. It just, so it's whenever he comes, if the master wanted a fire, all the servant have to do is touch it with the...
That's necrotic energy. I can't start a fire with necrotic energy, can I? How about thaumaturgy? Could thaumaturgy do it?
I would say
no. Thaumaturgy can't light.
It's not listed in the thing.
I have fire spells.
I can change the flames when they're already there, but I can't create it with thaumaturgy.
I bet you a cloud could, or Far Eye could, or not Far Eye. Silence or cloud could. Flames. Yeah.
Darl will start walking over there with his tinder box.
That'll work too. That'll work. Don't try to be cool or anything. Of course, actually, I have to say that in this day and age, somebody pulling out a tinder box and lighting it, it's kind of cool.
It is kind of cool.
You can and you may.
Taking time to light your tinder, I'll walk over and do 10 fire damage to the fireplace with the produce flame.
Yeah, Cloud just holds out his hand, and there's the flame cupped in his hand.
I'm seriously considering taking magic initiate at 8th level just to get prestidigitation.
Prestidigitation.
Yeah, I'll also take Booming Blade because Storm Cleric, but yeah.
And a servant comes in with a tray with glasses with some decanters on it, sets it down on the table. You see he goes over to like a shelf where there's a wooden box, and you see where he grabs a pipe and some tobacco out of the box, and he fills it. And he comes back over to one of the high back leather chairs and sits down, and he says, so, what seems to be the issue? And we'll stop there for this week. and you guys can have the conversation with him next week. And good job.
All right.
Hey. Nothing crashed and burned yet.
We'll ease in.
Yeah, we'll get back.
Okay, yeah, so there you go. That's it.
All right.
We'll call her there, and I'm gonna split. And sorry about last week. I don't know what happened. I don't know. Those who take high blood pressure pills will know what I was gonna say. I felt like I had double dosed myself on high blood pressure medication.
Little dizzy, little lightheaded.
Not even little, Michael. When I finally texted you guys, when I messaged you guys, I was like laying down. I was like, I can't even like walk. I felt like bad. I don't know what happened. I really don't know what happened.
That sounds like when my blood sugar drops right down to about 32.
I woke up fine, and just as the morning went on, I'm like, oh, I'm starting to feel woogie. And by the time I messaged you guys, I'm like, holy fuck, I couldn't even lift my head. I'm like, I feel like a double dose. The only thing I could think of is that like I was kind of under the weather before that, and maybe the pressure changed in my sinuses or in my ears, because my equilibrium was off so bad. And being blind, it's even worse when. No, so I was like weak and dizzy and nauseous, and I couldn't even lift my head. So, I don't know what happened. Like I said, maybe my sinuses, some sort of pressure change or something, and my ears went all wonky. I don't know.
But no, I'm kind of with this bigger city and all these crowds and whatnot, and Garl being a ranger and a gnome out, not used to it. He is, and then real suspicious just because of that. Not really comfortable. But then when you have this big clericy type thing at the wharf, create the impression that he sees all, knows all, then that really makes him a little wary. So he's trying everything in the world to protect himself in that respect and and such. So hopefully that's not bothering people too much.
Just know punishment can be swift and severe. In the Dragon Heist module, they say like, you know, if people are like breaking the law, you can just like kill them, right? Like, because they even said like the helplessness of just removing their character from the game is the same feeling they would get when dealing with the law.
Yeah, I've been thinking about retiring Cloud, but I don't want to do that to him. That'd be sad.
But anyways, yeah, I'm gonna go. I gotta get ready, and But thanks, it was good. Good game.
All right, guys, have a good one.
Bye.